Hi everyone, welcome back to another session of Bhagavad Gita. We will be covering today Bhagavad Gita chapter 1, text number 15 through 18, which is page 41 and 42 in the hardbound Bhagavad Gita as it is. Recap from last session. We covered Duryodhana's diplomacy continues. So Duryodhana, after he spoke to his teacher Dronacharya, he walks up to Bhishma, who is his great grandfather, and he is talking to Bhishma, saying, "The victory of this battle is certain because you are on my side." So he is trying to please Bhishma Deva, although that is his confidence also. And Bhishma Deva then blows his conch shell, knowing the fear in the heart of his grandson. He wants to dispel the fear in Duryodhana's heart. Also, the indication by his blowing the conch shell is, I'm going to fight with my full vigor, but still the Pandavas are going to win because Krishna is on that side. We saw Arjuna and Krishna also blew their conch shells. We saw three signs of victory which are on Arjuna's side. One, Krishna is with Arjuna. Wherever there is Krishna, there is goddess of fortune, and the chariot that was given to Arjuna was given by Agni. So whoever is on that chariot, it is impossible to defeat that person because the chariot is given by Agni. Today we will be covering Rishikesha, owner of all senses. We will see blowing of conch shells, and Sanjaya speaks to Dhritarashtra. We'll start with prayers. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master who, with the torchlight of knowledge, has opened my eyes which were blinded by the darkness of ignorance. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. My dear Lord and the spiritual energy of the Lord, kindly engage me in your service. I am now embarrassed with this material service. Please engage me in your service. Rishikesha, owner of all senses. We are parts and parcels of Krishna. Like a child comes from the parent and the child is produced from the body of the parent, the child is part and parcel of the parent. We, living entities, are parts and parcels of Krishna, and our senses are parts and parcels of Krishna's senses. And to the degree our senses are engaged in Krishna's service, to that degree Krishna directs our senses. It's something like, if a child is obedient to his parent, then the parent is happy, and because the parent is happy, the child is happy. Similarly, when we engage our senses in a way that Krishna wants us to engage our senses, then Krishna is happy. And when Krishna is happy, we are happy. And in such a sweet relationship, what happens is Krishna directs the senses of the living entity. To the extent we are able to engage our senses in Krishna's service, that is, to the extent we are able to surrender to Krishna, to that extent Krishna directs the senses. And for Arjuna, who is the very dearmost friend and devotee and fully surrendered to Krishna, Krishna is directing his transcendental senses. By being his chariot driver, he is riding his chariot, not only riding his chariot, but then he's also the controller of Arjuna's senses, directing Arjuna on what needs to be done and how it needs to be done. Krishna has different names. One of the name we saw in our previous slide is Rishikesha. Rishikesha is controller of the senses. And there are other names that Krishna has, and we will be seeing few of them here in this slide. Madhusudana. Krishna killed a demon, and the name of the demon was Madhu. He killed several demons, and one of the demons he killed, his name was Madhu, and so Krishna got the name Madhusudana. One of Krishna's names is Govinda. Krishna gives pleasure to the cows. Cow is referred to as Go. Vinda is pleasure. So Krishna gives pleasure to the cows, so his name is Govinda. Go is also referred to as senses, and Krishna gives pleasure to the senses, so he is referred to as Govinda. Devaki Nandana. Krishna accepted Devaki as his mother, so one of Krishna's name is Devaki Nandana. The childhood pastimes of Krishna were awarded to Mother Yashoda, and so one name of Krishna is also Yashodanandana. Parthasarathi. Krishna became the chariot driver of his friend Arjuna. And so one of Krishna's name is Parthasarathi. This is very interesting that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the controller of the entire universe, and he becomes the chariot driver of Arjuna. There is always this competition between Krishna and his devotees. Krishna's devotees want to serve Krishna, and Krishna wants to serve his devotees. And that very thing, that nature of Krishna is seen in his name Parthasarathi. He becomes the chariot driver of Arjuna. And Rishikesha, he is controlling or giving direction to Arjuna's senses in the battlefield because Arjuna has fully surrendered to Krishna. Moving along the storyline, both the armies are aligned and standing opposite to each other. We saw Duryodhana's diplomacy walking up to Dronacharya, then walking up to Bhishma Deva. Bhishma Deva blew his conch shell, and then Krishna and Arjuna blew their conch shell. Arjuna's conch shell is known as Devadatta. Bhima blew his conch shell. Bhima's conch shell is known as Poundra. And everybody, all the others on the battlefield started blowing their conch shells. So there was a tumultuous sound of conch shells being blown. point to note is when the conch shells were blown by the Pandavas, the sound of that conch shell was very encouraging to the soldiers. Also, Lord Krishna, the supreme director, was on the side of the Pandavas, and because Krishna was on their side, goddess of fortune was also on their side. So there are signs of victory for the Pandavas, Krishna being there, goddess of fortune being there, chariot given by Agni. Blowing of the conch shell is very encouraging to the soldiers. So the war is about to begin. The blowing of the conch shell is an indication of beginning something. And the war is about to begin because everybody started to blow their conch shells. That was the scene happening on the battlefield, and here in the palace, Sanjaya, who was given the transcendental vision by Vyasadeva, is sitting in the palace and narrating the whole story of what's happening on the battlefield to the blind king Dhritarashtra. And looking at different signs of victory that are seen on the side of Pandavas, Sanjaya is mildly telling Dhritarashtra that Dhritarashtra has been endeavoring very hard to enthrone his sons as the king. And Sanjaya is telling Dhritarashtra, your making such an endeavor was not a wise thing. Why? Because the different signs clearly indicate the destruction of the entire Kuru dynasty. So just because Dhritarashtra could not stop his sons and he could not stop himself and his desire that he wanted his son to be the king, today the whole Kuru dynasty will be destructed because of that. And the whole catastrophe is due to Dhritarashtra unable to stop the sons from they trying to murder the Pandavas. They tried to burn them. They tried to disrobe Draupadi. All the misdeeds that the sons of Dhritarashtra did was not stopped by Dhritarashtra. And Dhritarashtra encouraged them in doing so. And today that has led to the destruction of the entire dynasty, and it will be a big catastrophe. So Sanjaya is speaking this to Dhritarashtra. What we saw today is Rishikesha, owner of the senses. To the extent we surrender our senses in Krishna's service, Krishna guides us accordingly. Blowing of conch shells. After Bhishma Deva blew his conch shell, Krishna, Arjuna, Bhima, and all the other people, all the other great warriors on that battlefield blew their conch shells. And blowing of the conch shells on the Pandava side was very encouraging to the soldiers. Krishna was on their side, goddess of fortune was on their side. Back in the palace, Sanjaya is narrating this incident to Dhritarashtra, and he's telling Dhritarashtra, you have not done a wise thing by encouraging your sons, due to which the whole dynasty will be destroyed. Please feel free to send in any questions via text. If you have, I will be happy to answer. Thank you all very much for watching. See you all in our next session. Hare Krishna, take care, be safe.